Hey everybody, ronarray here, and from the moment when 0.3.1 started, there have been a lot of speculation about different approach to raw currency farming. So in this video, I wanted to showcase a few nodes which right now can improve your loot. And currently those nodes are underappreciated, and I can see that not a lot of people are investing into them or using them at all, even if those are pretty great. And some people also using a few nodes incorrectly. So in this video, I'm going to talk about this and literally explain how you can use those to improve your loot. Let's go. So overall, the whole atlas been pretty stale for some time, and most of the nodes here been very obvious, and most of the players been using very similar atlases to improve the loot. The only change that you can probably see is like running that part with shrines instead of spending point here for treasure coves and waste on quantity. However, there is one part of the atlas which is currently always up to debate. Is pretty much the breach atlas. In the breach, you always need to go up to Rising Pyre, because Rising Pyre is providing 25% monster density, which is absolutely insane. It's also pretty nice to get Crumbling Walls, because you'll have a chance to get additional breach, additional 3 breaches and 10 breaches. It's always a nice addition. However, the last point always been up in the air. Pretty often people are picking Interdimensional Assault, which gives 10% increased monster density, but breaches open and close 30% faster. If your build is fast enough, like you're moving fast across the map, I don't think it's a big issue, and Interdimensional Assault been worth it. And some other people with slower builds, so who just don't want to bother too much, been picking Sustained Siege, because that way it's much easier to kill all monsters in the breach. However, there is one node that, in my opinion, heavily underrated. It's pretty much Zashed Madness, and especially in 0.3.1. Zashed Madness is giving you some absolutely not important catalyst bonus. The important part in the Zashed Madness is rare breach monsters in your maps have the Soul Eater modifier. Why it's important? Right now, when you're playing and farming raw currency, rare monsters are pretty much the main source of currency. Doesn't matter if you're going for quantity approach or rare monster approach, or like two strategies, both of them are kind of viable at the moment, and I believe that Zashed Madness can improve both of them and can heavily outperform Interdimensional Assault. So Zashed Madness is going to give additional guaranteed modifier to every rare breach monster in your map. It's going to be a Soul Eater, so your build should be kinda strong to kill it, but I don't believe those rares are becoming too hard at any moment. But running Zashed Madness is literally giving you a guaranteed modifier in all your breach rares, which is very effective, and is going to improve the loot of those rares, because the more modifiers the rare will have, the better loot will be, like more loot the rare itself will drop. That way, Zashed Madness is working very similarly to Liquid Fear, which is providing additional modifiers as well. So when you're applying it to a map, it's giving your rare monster 75% chance to have an additional modifier. But here, from Zashed Madness, that modifier is guaranteed, and you don't need to spend a lot to get it up. So I believe that Zashed Madness right now is providing better results than Interdimensional Assault, because 10% of density is not that much, since you're not receiving any kind of loot from normal monsters in there. You're mostly getting your loot from rares. And Zashed Madness is helping you to improve those rares, capitalizing and providing even more loot. So I'm absolutely sure that Zashed Madness is worth investing into it, and it can make your breaches better, especially if you will start stack it with particular precursor tablet, which can give you breach spawn additional rare monsters. Practically, if you're using a tablet like that, it's going to give you additional rare monsters, which is guaranteed, and both of those monsters will have an additional modifier, which is very good and will improve your chances to drop a lot of raw currency up to Divines. And the second node that I would like to talk about is Beyond Reality. I believe Beyond Reality is not really used widely just because people can't understand how it's working, mostly because GG introduced a new bug in the variation of 0.3.1 patch. So that bug includes both organized forces and beyond reality, so both of those nodes are working in a very strange approach right now. Let me showcase how exactly it's working at the moment. So, for example, when you're going to your Atlas and you're picking ornate chambers, for example, adding basic Waystone in here and adding Overseer Precursor tablet. As you can see, the monster level right here is 79, so it's not jumping up even when I'm adding the tablet, which empowers the map boss. Such situation should probably lead to organized forces working, so no irradiated areas with powerful map bosses have +1 level. But unfortunately right now it's not working properly. And the same goes for beyond reality, so in such situation it's not going to work. However, there's a cool trick and there's a situation in which both of those nodes are working properly. So if we will use the map which already have a powerful map boss, so you can find a lot of those maps on your Atlas everywhere, you probably have so many of them. And you will just go in there and add a basic Waystone here. As you can see, monster level jumping to 80, and we will have a chance to get a corruption in there. So both organized forces and beyond reality is going to work properly. That way, we don't even need to run like Overseer Precursor tablet in there. You can do that if you like, just like for additional monsters, quantity, or whatever you would enjoy. But powerful map boss by itself is going to already give us level 80 and the chance for the corruption. So talking a little more about chance for the corruption. Corrupted and cleansed maps right now are providing significant improvement in raw drops and especially helping you to drop more currency. That way, using beyond reality to focus on the maps that already have like powerful map bosses to utilize those chances to get corruption could be a very good way if you don't have too much corruption on your Atlas. So in general, I still heavily recommend to search for corrupted zones to like clean them and farm those cleaned maps around. But if you can't find them, I believe that Beyond Reality is a very good option right here, especially since Brutal Lessons is providing practically nothing because experience from map bosses is very close to be absolutely useless. That way, taking and utilizing Beyond Reality, focusing on the maps when you don't have the corruption but have a powerful boss, can help you with improving your loots in general, because corruption will spawn with like 30% chance, and when it will spawn, it will practically multiply amount of monsters that you already have on the maps and will improve your chances to drop currency and divines in general. And the last node, which is constantly misunderstood and a lot of people using it wrong, is pretty much local knowledge. As I already showcased in multiple videos prior, local knowledge is absolutely amazing. It can give you swamp and water biomes 40% increased chance to drop basic currency. However, I think a lot of people still missing the idea that local knowledge should always be used in both swamp and water biomes. But if you're running any other type of biomes, you will need to drop it completely, except maybe grass. That leads to a situation when you need to constantly replace local knowledge to just like unallocate it if you're running mountain, forest, desert, and allocate it back when you're running swamp, water or grass. An interesting point is why grass. So right now, some particular runes, and runes are pretty much socket currency, have a very high amount of price that you will need to pay for them. So dropping those runes in the grass biomes can improve your farm overall. It can give you like movement speed rune, +1 to spell skills rune, and a lot of stuff like this. So I recommend to run grass and swamp water biomes with the local knowledge and everything else without. So the big question is, why you even need to run it without? So from 0.1, there have been a very nice theory which is practically confirmed based on like in-game data and people calculating their loots, that when you're running other types of biomes, increased chances to drop gold, jewels and barriers with inscribed ultimatums is going to increase those chances by replacing other type of drops. So, for example, you could drop a base currency, but instead you're going to get gold. You could drop a socket currency, but instead you're going to get jewels. That's pretty much how local knowledge works according to what we currently know. And that leads to a safe approach when you can just drop local knowledge when you're running mountain, forest and desert to make sure you're not making your loot worse, but still run it always in swamp, water and grass. And another interesting moment is pretty much the situation in the current atlas when you can't see biomes. I think a lot of people commented on that because some bias from the previous maps are not really appearing on the atlas. Here it's Grimhaven, no any kind of biome. Here is Burial Bog, no any kind of biome, and so on and so on and so on. So right now that biome is pretty much hidden, so we just can't see that. And there's a pretty interesting approach how we can check how exactly it's working. So I'm going to leave a link in the pinned comment and in the description which you can check. And there's a list of maps. A list of maps is giving you approximate approach to the biomes. For example, Crimson Shores is water, Limestone Hideout is water, Sandspit is water. And for example, you can go swamp, it's Burial Bog, Sinking Spire, some trenches, wetlands. Here's a whole list, you can practically memorize the maps, it's pretty easy. So, for example, on my atlas right here, I have a Burial Bog map. That's a swamp map, so local knowledge is going to work on that map. But I can see the biome in the game because as far as we know, it's bugged right now. I hope GG will fix it soon, but that's where we are at the moment. Check the list, check the names, memorize them, and run proper biomes with local knowledge and bad biomes without it. So even if the loot changes, I believe if you will follow those simple approaches to the atlas and will use any of the working strategies right now for farming your maps, you can still drop a decent amount of currency and afford most of the stuff that you will need in the league. Let me know in the comments if it's working out greatly for you and what combination are you using yourself. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time. ronarray out.